Good afternoon, dear children. Today we will continue with the chapter of Australia and we will be doing the sheep rearing in Australia today. In Australia, sheep and cattle are more important than crops. Sounds very surprising, but that is the truth. Australia stands first in the production and export of wool. Its sheep population is about 14 times its human population. Pretty unbelievable. But today, Australia has a sheep population of about 150 million, which is the highest in the world. And it is also the third largest exporter of live sheep. So now you can easily imagine how important sheep rearing in Australia is. The very first question which must have arisen in your heads is or must be that why instead of crops Australia is so fascinated and so interested in only sheep and cattle rearing. It's basically because of the dry climate of most of Australia, which is absolutely ideal for wool production. Although temperatures are too warm in the northern part of the country, so the uh, sheep and cattle rearing basically thrives well in the temperate parts of Australia, where rainfall is about 20 to 40 centimeters. And the poor grassland vegetation is also very suitable for the sheep. That is another major reason. And the large farms, which are really easily available to provide adequate pasturage for the large number of sheep, is also available in Australia. So all these factors are the major factors which are making sheep rearing in Australia important and much easier than growing crops. Before we understand the entire sheep rearing in detail, let us understand a very few very important terms. In Australia, a sheep farm is called a sheep station. As simple as that. But when we want to understand it in detail, you can read this definition. A sheep station is a large property, the station equivalent to a ranch in Australia or New Zealand, whose main activity is the raising of sheep for their wool or for meat. In Australia, sheep stations are usually in the southeast or southwest of the country. That is the basic area, the temperate area. The largest sheep station in Australia is Anna Creek. Now, that is an information which is mostly asked in the general knowledge quiz, etc. So, that is the reason I've mentioned it at here. Although this information is not in your book, but still, if you know this, it will be actually good for your information. And then comes the next subheading, that is your paddock. What does that mean? Because when I will be explaining the entire sheep rearing, you will know, make it will be easier for you to understand if you know these terms. So as simple as that, a sheep farm is called a sheep station. What is a paddock? A small field where sheep or horses are kept. So here are a few pictures of a paddock. Now you can see what has been done out here. Here you have they are fenced fields basically. When I'm talking about the small field which is a paddock, here you have the fencing being done, which is actually making a entire huge field segregated into parts. So in one area you can keep sheep, the other one you can keep horses, and in that way also you can divide your farm. But whereas if you want to keep different type of sheep in different fences, that can also be done. In fact, you will be amazed to know that each sheep category is kept into these paddocks, and approximately 2 to 3,000 sheep are kept in one paddock itself. That is actually a huge number, you can imagine. And I hope these pictures make it very clear that approximately more than 4,000 to 5,000 sheep can be kept easily in one field or a paddock. Then we move ahead to the next picture, that is the sheep shearing. Now here you see a picture of a sheep shearing. Before I give you the meaning, now this shearing is actually done during the hot weather so that the sheep can survive without their thick coat of protective hair. Now, this is not written in your book, but this is basic information. Even in yours, your hair, you would like a shorter haircut during summer so that you can actually, your head can also breathe easily, or while perspiring, you can actually um, clean your head easily of the sweat. But here, when the sheep is not able to clean the sweat on their own, they need to survive, and it becomes pretty hot during the summer season. So, this shearing is done basically first to remove the wool, and secondly, during the summers, the sheep can easily survive without their coat during the summer season. And before the winter starts, the fur is automatically regrown. So by now you must have easily understood what does the term shearing means. The term shearing here means is the process by which the woolen fleece of a sheep is cut off. And the person who removes the sheep's wool is called a shearer. Typically, each adult sheep is shorn once each year, and a sheep may be said to have shorn or sheared depending on the dialect. So, here we learn two things, that removal or removing the woolen fleece of a sheep is called shearing, and the person who does that work is known as a shearer. Next term, which is the most important also, that is mustering. A muster or a roundup is the process of gathering livestock. Now, how is it done? We have a few pictures out here. It can be done by whistling also. The first picture shows a man who's whistling at that, and the second one is showing that how a man is actually, with the help of his friend at the back, collecting or making the sheep move in a particular way with the help of the horse, and they are actually guiding. And here you all must have seen in your childhood Sean the sheep. There you must have seen how he helps his owner getting all the sheep in line and coming back into the yard or the paddock area. Here, with the help of a dog, this person is doing, and this one is on a bike. So there are various modes that the mustering is done along, and especially in the modern times. Initially, it was just the humans who were helping along with the dogs. The dogs have always been the ones who have been leading the sheep to the yard. So let's go back to the definition again. A muster or a roundup is the process of gathering the livestock. That means they are gathered after they have been let loose into the fields for eating the grass. After they have had their fill, they are supposed to come back to their yards and the paddock area. So that entire rounding up or the process of gathering them again is known as mustering. Now it usually involves the cattle, sheep or horses, but may also include goat, camel, buffalo. So it's not a term which is only being used for the sheep in specific terms. It can be used for most of the cattle. Here we also need to know that each sheep farm is run by a family with the help of the paid workers known as jackaroos. So the people who are working along with the family in the rearing of the sheep here are known as jackaroos, who are paid. And most of the farms have sheds where sheep are sheared and the wool is stored. Let us know more about the most widely and the most populous breed of sheep, that is the merino breed. Here you can see various types of sheep, I should say, or in fact various breeds which have been shown depicted in this picture. But these two are the main merino breed sheep, which is basically the most famous one for its softest wool which they produce. Here in this picture, you can see the difference. This is the wool, common type of a wool which is produced, and this is the specific merino wool which is extracted from the wool of this specific sheep. Here in this picture is also depicted a electric shearer which is used now. Initially, only the knives and the razors and the blades were used, which were used to leave a lot of cuts on the sheep. After the shearing of the sheep is done, in this picture you can say with the help of this electric razor, most of the sheep stations have headquarters where the sheep are shared and the wool is actually stored. But after it is being shared, the wool cannot be stored as it is. The wool is actually cleaned, sorted, and pressed into large bales before it is being sent to the wool market so that the final product can be sold in the market. The most important sheep rearing states in Australia are New South Wales, Victoria, Western Australia, and South Australia. And because we have marked all the maps, um, that is the political map also and the physical feature map also, you already know the areas in Australia which are dry because you've marked the desert, and you already know the areas which are the temperate areas. So wherever these states are, we have done the map of the political Australia, so we already know where these states are, and we also know the significance of these states as to why they are most important for rearing the sheep. Before I ask you to do the homework, my request is that because you have enough time before the class ends, because this video is hardly of 14 minutes, so I'm requesting you to watch these two videos, which will show you. The first one will show you the old methods as to how sheep was reared, or how the entire rearing of the sheep used to take place in the times before the modern technology entered into it. And the second video will be showing you, and they're not more than 6 to 7 minutes. So before the class ends, you'll finish with these two videos, and then you can attempt your homework. The first question is letting you basically asking you, the merino breed of sheep is mainly rare in Australia, give reason why. And as soon as I had started the class today, I had given you a few specific reasons, and one of the answers is there. So the land between the Murray and Darling rivers is more suitable for sheep rearing. Now this is also explained by me. This has also been explained, but I will again explain what is the basic necessity of a sheep. That is the food and water. And if we are talking about the land between the Murray and Darling rivers, you obviously know that area has availability of water, number one. Number two, it is in the temperate area. Number three, what is happening there? You have the most nutritious and luscious green pastures available out there. The grass, which is the most nutritious grass, that is in the form of legumes, etc., is available in this area. So I've given you the answer for both the questions. And the second question basically is, according to you, what are the major differences in the rearing of the sheep in Australia which have occurred due to the advancement of technology? Now for this question, you will have to refer to these two videos also. And apart from that, even with your basic information about today's technology and technological advancement, about the market and about the selling of the wool and about the marketing of the livestock, how easily it can be done with the modern ways, you can actually write your answer under these 2 3 heads very simply. Thank you.